Welcome back to the Leeds Rhinos Podcast, episode 27. I'm Phil Daly, the head of media and PR here at Leeds Rhinos. On today's episode, we're going to be looking back on the dramatic win against Hull FC here at AMT Headingley and looking forward to a trip to the jungle to face our local rivals, Castleford Tigers, on Saturday afternoon. I'm delighted to be joined yet again. It's one of our favourites on the podcast. Assistant coach Jamie Langley is with us today. I'm going to looking back to Friday's game, I'm going to do it a bit wrong way around here. We're going to start with the end and work our way backwards from there. But what an end it was. Dramatic way to win the game.
It was, mate, yeah. It was. We'd spoke in the week about the type of game it was going to be. We knew the nature of the game. Hull have been in some quite close games this season. They're a really gritty team. They stay with you, like it's nip and tuck. And they're just finding ways to win. So we knew it were going to be, it sounds quite cliche, but it was going to be an 80-minute performance. We spoke about the strongest parts of our game, and we did a little 10-week block review with the players and where we sit in-house with our KPIs and game drivers and what we're looking at with our identity, and also where we sit league-wide as well. And a couple of the focus areas for us were certainly the last 10 minutes of games, where we conceded 8 tries. Now, 3 of those came against Castleford at home. There were a couple against Warrington, a couple against UlKR as well. So we knew that starts to games was an area we need to focus on. And also just like, you know, the flow of the games. And we feel like our best rubbers when we get set for set, we know we're really fit and we play with high levels of physicality and effort. And we felt like, in the game at the weekend, it was going to be like that because Hull are very similar. That they'll stick in games and they try really hard and good effort areas, and that's how it transpired. But fortunately for us, the last 10 minutes this time went our way because, as I said, we've been on the wrong end of a few of those this season. So I think it was good for us to not necessarily get the monkey off us back, but prove to ourselves that if you do stick into it, you stick with those processes, that, it can come down to the final whistle like it did with Ryan. But I think someone said after, you timed it to perfection there. You know, if you score at the end, they can't come back and win. And I don't know if it was planned quite that way, but I think it's just a testament to the boys that they believed, and our responses were really good throughout the game, certainly throughout that last 10 minutes, and we just stuck in it. We didn't spiral as such. And another thing as well, like our senior boys came up clutch. Like if you look at that sequence of play, they put a grubber in. Callum Watkins has the wherewithal not to raise his hands and it deflects off his chest. So anybody else would probably react to that. That could have been a knock-on, game over. So just the experience of Cal to do that in that moment. And then Ash comes up clutch with a 40-metre break and, drags 3 blokes on his back. Talk about the captain putting the team on his back. And then some of the execution thereafter, like Callum not to reach out, again, experience. Jock's pass from dummy half, like he's been working on that, like with Chev, really, really hard. He iced that pass to Crofty right out in front, which means Crofty can then go into the line, square up, and then Lockie's cut out pass to Ryan. And who else would you want in the corner there other than Ryan as well? So he had the strength and the awareness to stay in the field, keep their winger at bay, and get a great finish with his right hand when naturally he's probably a left winger, spent most of the career on his left, finishing with his left hand. And to come out clutch like that for us were massive. So I was happy to come out on the right side of it for once.
You mentioned the break by Ash, which was outstanding. He catches the ball just on halfway and gets pulled down just inside their 10. It's an unbelievable, as you say, the point of contact is probably 10, 12 metres further upfield when initially the Hull defenders get to him. But just before that, his leadership as captain, the captain's challenge on that decision from you mentioned when Callum doesn't touch the ball. How important is it to have that challenge still in your back pocket at that stage of the game? We've seen teams burn them early on in a game, but to have the wherewithal to go, no, we could need this later in the game when it matters.
Yeah, it's massive. It's changed the game, hasn't it? It's changed the outlook of the game, and we speak about it quite a lot, how you can manage that and how you manage the context. And one of Ash's greatest strengths as a leader is he's always very calm. So he's very calm, very calculated. And he's always said to the boys, look, I'll come to you. If, I'll back you, I'll trust you. If you feel like you've got that much validation that it is, going to go in our favour. But if we're not sure, we'll just say contextually, just keep it in the back pocket. Because like I say, you don't want to burn it early. There were a couple of occasions in our review today, we looked at a couple of instances and the boys were saying, could we have challenged that? And we're like, we probably could have done, yeah, but you're talking like it's the first, like Riley's penalty, for example, when he gets done for tackling the guy in the air. But he actually, like Will Price does a really good job, and we coach this, but, without like giving it, making it too obvious and giving it away to the referee, he gets across Riley's chase lane. It is an obstruction, but, it's borderline, and he does a good job on it, does Pricey, and, everybody coaches it. And we say, well, some of the boys say, could we have challenged that? Could we have got the penalty there? And, well, maybe not. But would you want to do that in the first couple of minutes of a game? So that's what we said, like contextually, it's really, really important to have those captain challenges in the moments that you need them.
And they're not 50-50 calls either, are they? Because the balance of proof is with the referee. He's made the call, or whether, in the case of Callum's knock on, it was the touch judge who called it. So it's not even like saying either or. You've got to prove that they are wrong with that call. And I think as well, it's also backing yourself to go, look, that might have been the wrong decision, but if we don't get the call, we back ourselves to defend our line here. And there's plenty of time in the game that even if they do get a score, we can come back for it. Whereas it's more important to have that challenge, because if they get that knock on, it's game over, isn't it? We just don't get that ball back to win the game.
Yeah, 100%. And we've had them in games where I couldn't tell you specifically what they were, but there's a couple of occasions where we've been playing opposition and they've burned the captain's challenge early. We might have dropped the ball, or it could have been a call against us where we've got it gone in our favour for whatever reason. The refs have not quite spotted it, and you see their players like getting round like he's dropped the ball, but they haven't got a challenge to use it. And the big swingers, massive swingers, like to the momentum of the games. So yeah, it's something that we do speak about, and it's something I feel like Ash has got a really good handle on at this moment in time.
Yeah, and we talked about that breakdown field, and then Callum not putting his hand out. I mean, all those experienced players, how important is it to have that level of experience on the field in those key moments? I think it's something definitely this squad compared to last year and the previous years. We have got that experience now where players don't lose their heads in those key moments.
It's massive, yeah, it's massive. And like we always say, don't we, potential is only good if it can help you now, and experience is only good if it can help you now. So it's all well and good, having all those experienced players, but they've still got to go out and action it and execute it and do the job. But I just think that the amount of time that those, like how many games have they got between them? You think of like Ash and Callum and Ryan, those sorts of players, and just having the wherewithal in the moment. It's in the moment that you can't quite coach it. Like we've spoke about Riley before on the wing, who's been doing a fantastic job. He's also coming up with a couple of little errors here and there, which you expect from a young player, but over time, and when he's 10 seasons into his career, he's not making those mistakes. He's not coming up with those indecisions. But you can only learn it by going through it. Unfortunately, you can't just, until we get this bloody AI stuff going on where you can have neural implants and stuff, and you can put Callum Watkins' experience into a Riley or a young Alfie or someone like that. You've got to go through it. And fortunately, them lads have been through it time and time again. And just having them out there in key moments, because there's been a couple of games where we feel like in those last 10 minutes where we've either been, as Anne's been forced to injuries with interchange and things like that, and we've probably not had our most experienced players out there at those given times. And you could look at it and say, well, yeah, does that have a factor? And I think, well, the weekend probably proves it does. To have those lads there coming up clutch, because they just don't get flustered, do they? Just stay in the moment, stay present, and whether they've got 10 minutes or 10 seconds, they'll still just do the job and they come up with the goods for us.
Yeah, it's important to keep that perspective when you talk about Riley, who's having a wow season, but as you say, learning on the job. I remember, I'm sure Callum won't mind me recalling this, in his early days, it was a World Club Challenge game where he was on the wing for us, and he had a really tough night that night. But it's those experiences, they're the building blocks, they're the foundations that you then build on going forward. And really, you mentioned the squad, and I think when you looked at the team sheet on Friday night, you looked at the strength on our bench. I thought that was going to be a real key area for us, that the quality we were able to bring on it with a player like Cooper Jenkins, who's been playing so well, and Jack Sinfield, who had a good couple of games there, aren't able to get into that match day 17. It shows the quality we've got.
Yeah, we've got a lot of depth in the squad. I think the performance team are doing a fantastic job of keeping the boys healthy as well. We've had a couple of soft tissues, which you can half accept when you know the reasoning why. And those boys are doing a great job of keeping our lads healthy and getting the bodies out on the field, because you can only obviously do what troops you've got available, can't you? So they've been doing a great job. And yeah, you look at our bench. So we got Cam back. It was Cam's first game back after a while. Good to see him back in the fold. You got people like James Bentley coming off the bench who've got tons and tons of experience in those big games. And then you bring in Sammy on. I think Sammy's last few games been really, really good, almost back to his best. So he gives you those big carries and swings the momentum for you. So yeah, we've got plenty of experience there coming off the bench. And really unfortunate for someone like Coops and Sidney to miss out because they have been good. But like we've said, and we've said all year, like it's you win together and you lose together as a team. And over the collective 27 games of a season, you're going to have to rely on everyone in your squad, like from 1 to whatever squad number you've got, and you might even have to draft a few young players in amongst that as well. So we know the importance of that. So like Coops and Sidney, they got the bad news earlier on in the week from BA, but he'll always give them a clear rationale as to why and the decision making behind it. But then our G-3 session, our big session on the Wednesday, like those boys were outstanding for our A team. So like their job is to then go out there and prep the team the best they possibly can, but also prep yourself just in case. But to prep the boys the best they can, and they were absolutely outstanding that day. Give us the pictures that we needed to see, and trained as well as anyone. And we highlight that in the week as well. So we give those boys big raps. So like they probably play, just as much a part as the win. So like, when you're shaking everybody's hands after the game, like I'll always get around and say, oh, like great week to everyone, like staff, players, everybody. We're all in it together here. Like, the performance team getting the boys fit and ready to go and tip-top shape for game day. The A team will prep the Super League team to go out there and do the job. So it's super, super important that all those lads stay switched on with it, and they did this week. And we'll probably be in a position where we'll be able to rotate occasionally if lads are creaking a bit with injuries and we're not having to push them through, so we can hopefully try and peak at the right time. So we've got the ability to do that when everybody's healthy.
Just mentioned those guys come off the bench. Just to explain a bit more to fans about the interchange and how that works and the processes that you go through. You're on the headset talking down to the bench from what BA is translating to you during the game. Do you have a set plan for what you're going to do with that, or is it very much see how things are playing out there, and how do you get that sort of feedback loop from what the lads are experiencing out in the field to make those decisions? Because presumably you haven't to plan ahead what you're going to do with particularly the limited amount of interchanges. I think one example, did Sam come on with about 4 or 5 minutes to go? It was a late burst onto the field, but having that energy out there was crucial for us at that stage.
Yeah, so you'd have a plan, a loose plan, I'd say, with your interchange. So you'd have conversations with the boys in the week. So we'd know, like Tom Allroyd generally going first, and it's probably going to be for Mick or Key, depending on how much work those boys are getting through. So the performance team are tracking the GPS and the data and stuff like that. And then we know how much work they're getting through from a statistical perspective as well. And just objectively, you can see when boys are getting tired. So we'll have guys watching that, but we'll have a loose plan of who's going to go when. So we'll know Tom's going to go first around this time, and it'll be for probably Mick or Key. And then after that, it's probably going to be Cam getting out there. Then Sammy will usually come on for his spell, maybe 10 to 12 before half time, because we feel like that's when he can impact the game the most. And then fortunately we had someone like James Bentley then who we can bring on like for our first interchange after half time. Will bring that energy and that work rate when there might be a bit of a dip in energy levels or the game starts to slump a little bit. You bring someone like Bentos on who just gives you that buzz and that energy, and it just keeps the boys at a high level of effort. There's many things that can affect it. So ideally, you don't want to use more than 3 before half time. So it gives you 5 in the second half to play with, and you've got a couple up your sleeve for emergencies. Sometimes you might use 2. There's times this year we've had to use 4 when we've been, Salford away, for example. We got a couple of injuries, and like Frolls cuts his hand, Crofty gets an head knock, somebody else gets injured, and before you know it, you're 4 gone before half time, which only leaves you 4 for second half. Like you've got to be very, very cautious then how you use it. So you have a loose plan, but it can be affected by injuries and different things like that. Sometimes that plan might change. As you say, as you're going along, you get in the flow of the game. You feel like we're chasing the game a bit here. We might need to bring Sammy on to give us some big blockbusting carries and swing the momentum. Or if it's, you're in front and you just need to see it out and need some experienced heads on, you might bring Mick back on, just to steady things down in the middle. So there's all those sorts of factors that come into play during the flow of the game. And it can get, it gets a bit dicey at times. And obviously we're in a constant feedback loop with the performance team on the sideline and Grixie to myself and BA. So I'm sort of the conduit between both. And it's just kind of getting ahead on, where the players are at. Like Gretzel, Adam McGretton, Gretzel, sometimes, he'll radio up, or like the boys are feeding back to Grixie. They're a bit leggy or they're feeling fine, whatever it is, and we'll go with that as well. So, if we're planning on making a change and he's like, he's good to go, we'll maybe push him through 2 or 3 more sets. But then it happens all the time where you'll be like, right, let's get Coops ready for Keenan, for example. We'll push him through 2 or 3 more sets, but then that one more set he goes, it can be a bit fatigued. It could lead to a penalty, and you're like, why didn't we just make the change? But that's you need a crystal ball for that sometimes, don't you?
And of course, there's game factors that come into it as well. And I think to Friday night, we're 10 minutes into the game, we're dominating that early 10 minutes, which got a great start to the game. And then we have the injury to Jordan Rappener and an 11-minute delay in the game. Presumably, then you're thinking, well, those lads who you might have been thinking were fatiguing have had a lengthy break now. That presumably changes your thinking on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so ordinarily they might be getting changed around 25, 30 minutes. You can probably push them through a couple more sets, can't you? So yeah, there's many factors, and that's why I said it's a loose plan rather than just saying, right, Tom Holroyd's coming on at 20 minutes. Like, you've got to be flexible with it, because if there is a breaking play or it has been stop-start, then you can push those boys through a couple more sets, then you go for it, yeah, because the more you've got in the locker come the back end of the game, the better, really.
And mentioned that break, Brad spoke afterwards in the press conference that he was going to go away and have a think with it. As a coach, he could have done more in that period to keep our momentum up, because we seemed to lose our way a bit after that break. I mean, from your experience as a player, how difficult is that when there's a big break in the game to get back up to the levels we were pre? And as a coach, what can you do really to keep that intensity there?
Yeah, well, the game did swing really at that point, because I felt like we dominated the first 10 sets, which we always set out to do. So I felt like we got a good foothold in the game. Like the boys fed back today, they felt like, and this is credit to Hull as well, they felt like it was probably the first time this year that we've been out enthused in certain areas of the game. That's what some of the lads fed back, and that was just their subjective feeling. Now, I'd agree with them in certain areas, like our kick sprint wasn't good. Like I think where they probably edged us out were the transition areas of the game. Like they got a lot of good kick compete wins. If you think on play one, they forced a couple of errors, and that led to 2 scrums, which led to 2 tries. We missed a lot of opportunities on kick competes where we didn't quite work hard enough. We didn't get through their escorts. Our kick sprints, what are normally top draw, weren't quite there. So I think those areas, certainly other areas, were really, really good. But we've invested a lot of time and effort in our responses to moments in games, and we've got practices and we put things in place to cope with those things. So, like the boys are pretty good with that. I just think it comes back to moments. You think of the first 3 sets after that, like we shift down an edge, which we've been doing all year, making line breaks. Ash flicks the pass to Riley, he catches that. You get to end a set, we're cooking on gas. Like they're coming off their own line again. Riley drops the ball. Like we're under pressure, so we have to defend it. And then I think the next set comes out, we make another error, and then we make another. So our 3 sets with the ball after that, I think we compounded with errors. We had to defend it, but it takes it out of your tank. So you can look back, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. But we look back today in our review and the flow of the game, and we said, well, was that the right decision? Well, probably, yeah, it was just a bit of execution. So I don't think it were down to lack of concentration. I don't think we lost focus. It was just a couple of moments, execution errors that unfortunately compounded. Like all played really well. Like they didn't turn ball over. They didn't make hardly any errors. They didn't give us a sniff, really. They kicked exceptionally well. So that's when you've got 2 good teams, that's what you expect from the contest.
Yeah, it was a great contest. I was speaking to someone over the weekend. They thought it was the best contest to see, like physical toe-to-toe stuff. We've got it's great bit of skill in there. Looking at meters made, our entire back lane all made over 100 meters. Lockie Miller pinched another one from a tap penalty, got himself some metres there, 209. Ryan Hall, 218. Harry Newman, 114. Ash Hanley, of course, that big long break, 219. Riley Lum, 135. Jacob Connor, 125. And Brody Croft, 112. That bodes well when your back line's making that sort of meterage.
Yeah, definitely. Like we speak a lot around field position territory, like our effort areas, our physicality, how we can try and win those areas of the game. And there's only been one game this game actually, where Hull probably had the lion's share, certainly a possession. I think they had 5 minutes more like time with the ball than we had. So I think we made 371 tackles, which is the most we've made all season by a margin. Only missed 15. So it shows you like how hard the boys are working for each other and things like that. Certainly under those levels of fatigue, and Hull completed up around 90%. But yeah, when your OBs are carrying the ball for those amount of meters, then it's a massive help for our big fellas, because they're investing so much in our defence, and your OBs can get you out of trouble there in transition. But we're talking about where we want to finish in certain areas, which should then, it alleviates a bit of that work that they have to do out of the backfield, or it should do anyway. But when you've got two good teams, who obviously they're trying to do what we're trying to do to them, like it should be a battle like that. But yeah, when them lads are working that hard, and we've said it all year, like our pack's been really, really good for the majority of the year, and the backs recognise that. So it's like, well, how can we repay these boys for all the graft and the effort they're doing? And that's one of the areas, like with our yardage carries and they are tough carries, them. And, we got dished up a few times as well, which you're going to do. You have to take your medicine, but, you've got to be patient with it and just keep coming and coming and coming. And sometimes that's the game. It's attritional like that. But to see those boys run for that amount of metres, and for us to probably restrict their metres as well, I think we ran for over 1,300 in the game, and they were just a shade over 1,000. And they had 5 minutes more possession. And as I said, the amount of tackles we had to wear as well. I think we had to work really, really hard for it.
Yeah, and talking about our graft and tackling, 3 players, and this goes back to that, we talked about the interchange, 3 players who played 80 minutes in the pack, Jared O'Connor, Morgan Gannon, James McDonald. That again gives you options, and you don't have to, you've got options around that. They, by no coincidence, those 3 are the top tacklers as well. Jared with 60 tackles, Macca with 45, and Morgan with 35. They're doing that graft that then allows the guys around them to make the impact they do.
Yeah, it does, yeah. When you've got a 9 who can do 80 minutes, which we've got 2 of them, we've got Ackers who's been out injured, he'll be back soon. You've got Jock who can do 80 minutes, and it's not just 80 minutes, it's 80 minutes of quality as well. Certainly defensively, which a lot of 9s, that's where you're going to get targeted, aren't you? Like the bigger boppers are going to try and carry at the 9 and things like that. But we've got 2 pretty good defensive 9s. And then your back rowers, ideally, you should be pushing through 80 minutes, which again, it frees up your interchange then, doesn't it, for your middles. So they can rip in knowing the fact that they're going to get spelled and they can go again. But yeah, those 3 lads have been really, really good for us. Certainly in the last few weeks, like Macca's been super, super dominant on that right edge. Gano's been really good as well. Like some of his touches with the ball, he's got a point of difference, and defensively, his work around the rucks, around Marco with our systems. Both those boys, excellent. Jock's been working super hard, like around his ruck system and his in-tackle management, because you're going to get targeted so much in the middle areas. But yeah, you talk about the tackle numbers, which is impressive. Jock 60 tackles, but it's the quality within that as well. So Jock was 89% tackle efficiency. He's 86% tackle wins. So that's 8 out of 10 of those tackles. Like he's making the tackle, it's efficient, and he's able to get tackle control and get a win on the back of it for us. So that's no mean feat, to do that for 80 minutes. I think we score in-house, like we call them TFEs, like team first efforts, and he's up there at like 26. So that's all the small little effort areas that we reward, that within our defensive system that go a long way for us to be able to give us a chance. Because your D, your D gives you a chance to win the game, doesn't it? Really, and that's what we said today's review. We had 2 line breaks in the game, which were through our ruck, which we've not conceded 1 line break through our ruck all season. That's how good our middles have been. We had 2 in one game, but the turn and burns and the scramble, like Macca got back on 1, Crofty got back on 1, and then to be able to D up our goal line like we did, like I think we defended 3 or 4 consecutive sets at one time. It just keeps you in the game, and it gives you a chance to win it. So 16 points is a lot for us to concede. So two of them were disappointed with the one from the scrum and the one on play two. Not taking any away from Sam, he crashed over and got the ball down, but we should be defending that. But the one where we got really good kick pressure on Will, he kicks it, hits the post, bounces back, and then you end up scoring it in corner. It's like we looked at it, and other than Tom charging the ball down, there wasn't much more we could have done then. So we're always like chasing perfection with our D, and as I said, those three boys are doing a great job within that.
And it's all right doing that hard work on D and getting that work, but for having, particularly in Jared's case, having done that for 78.5 minutes, all that hard work, to then be able to execute the skill to put the ball to Crofty, that then sets up the drive. That's what all the hours in training are all about, so that you can perform that task when under fatigue and under pressure.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what separates the good players from the rest. Like, are they able to do it consistently? Can you do your job consistently well for 80 minutes, week in, week out? And yeah, Jock's he's getting there with that consistency now. Like, he's working really, really hard. I mean, his strengths are he's incredibly fit. He's got a great engine. He'll go all day for you, and he's tough. Like, he's tough as nails. And the areas he is working on, the subtleties to his game. And that, if you look at that pass, that's a difficult pass to make. So it's not one you can probably whip off the floor. He has to actually take a step back, passes off his back foot, left to right, which is not his favourable side. And it's about a 15-metre pass to put that right out in front of Crofty. As you say, under fatigue, under the pressure of the moment as well. Like, if we don't ice this, then it's probably game over. But that's where you're not even thinking in those moments. It's just that it's autonomic. Like we talk to the boys about training habits all the time. Like, just keep nailing your training habits and it'll look after you in the game. So you'd have to think in the game. You just do. And he just did in that moment. But it's a testament to the work, as you say, that he puts in, and all the rest of the boys as well.
You mentioned Andy Ackers there. Would you do a quick update on the guys who are out injured? Andy's not far away now, a couple of weeks, Brad said last week. Tom Nicholson-Watton's he's having an operation this week on a foot injury that just to get all that cleared up. He's been dealing with that for a while now. Ethan Clark-Wood's back in training with the boys. He's looking to get amongst it, and a couple of young lads. Alfie Edgell got a shoulder injury at Magic, but he's on the road to recovery. And good to see Max Simpson's going to be back in with the boys this week. Yeah,
so Ackers, he's close. He's really close. He's in great shape as well. Like, he's a good pro, Ackers. He looks after himself, and you just look at him and you can tell he looks lean, he looks fit, he looks in good shape, and takes his game really seriously. So it'd be great to have him back in there and have some competition around that 9 shirt. And yeah, to mention the other boys, so Max, who's had a bit of a rocky road as Max, he's been a bit unfortunate and had a couple of reoccurring injuries, soft tissue injuries, but he's starting to integrate himself now in with the boys, doing some reps in training, and again looking really good, mate. Looking good. I don't know much about Max. I've not seen much of him, but I'm really excited by what I've seen so far and what I'm hearing about him. So just hoping that he gets a break. Ethan unfortunately got a low-grade syndesmosis on his ankle, but he's going to be back fit now. He's almost training fully with the squad, which is great because he gives us competition for place in our back line. Alfie picked up a bit of a knock on Magic Weekend, as you say, to his AC joint, a nasty one. A tough kid, Alfie, and those ACs can be a bit tricky, but he'll be there and thereabouts, not far off. And then you've got Ben Littlewood, who's been out for a while, and he's on the comeback trail. So yeah, as I said earlier, like, our performance team doing a great job. Like Gretz and Ferg and the team, they're across everything in terms of like our loadings, our robustness, our exposure to training loads and things like that. So I think we're pretty well placed to have a healthy squad over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and it's great, that competition for places, and some reserve games coming up in a couple of weeks should be absolutely brilliant fixtures given the amount of personnel we've got available. So definitely check those ones out. Just looking ahead now to Cass this week. Always a big game down there. So, and a part of the world you know very well, where you grew up around there. They had a good win at the weekend, albeit against Salford, who are struggling at the moment, but they'll have plenty of confidence when Leeds are in town.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we played them at our place. It was a tough, gritty game. First, I think they were coming into that game at Headingley probably low on confidence a bit and on the wrong end of some results. And it was 22 minutes before there were any points scored in that game. I think they were a high-scoring game, 40-odd to 20-odd or something along those lines. But for 22 minutes, there were no points scored whatsoever. Sometimes forget that because, they always turn up, don't they? Leeds and Cass, whenever they're playing each other. It's like, with Bradford no longer being in the picture at this moment in time, and Leeds, Wakefield, Castleford, those games are the big derby games, aren't they? So I remember commentating, actually doing the radio on the game at Cass last year when it were peeing it down with rain. It was a bit of a mud bath, wasn't it? And Cass, I thought, were really dominant that first half, and it was Sammy probably and some Lockie Miller magic that managed to swing the game for Leeds in that game. But yeah, going down to Weldon Road, it's always going to be a tough game for anybody, but none more so than us. And they're on the back of a good win as well. I watched that game this morning. So they're playing some nice rugby. They're not afraid to move the ball around and chance their arm a little bit, and they're quite brave with the way they play. So yeah, it's going to be a physical, tough, gritty battle. It always is going there. So we've got to prepare ourselves the best we can for that.
Yeah, from memory, I think that game last year was 0-0 at half time, and as you say, there was nothing much in it. And second half, we managed to kick on and get the win. Who do you see as the you mentioned they've got some talent within that Cass team? Who do you see as the danger men for them?
Yeah, it's not always like singling players out, but we'll speak in house about their threats and who we want to focus some attention on and what they're likely to throw at us. You never truly know. Like, Hull scored on a scrum play against us at weekend that we'd not seen before. So you can only prep for what you can prep for and just hope that your systems take care of the rest. Like we say with our attack, we'll try not to bend too much to what the opposition are doing defensively. We'll just do what we do and we'll read the cues and adjust and adapt. And certainly defensively, that'll be very similar. But, players to keep an eye on. I think Rowan Milnes, who didn't play against us last time, has been back in the squad. He's a really consistent player. He's Rowan. Smart footballer, got good variety to his game. The way he's a big body, so he's dangerous with his show and go because he's strong in contact. He'll take the ball right into the line because he's brave. So he'll have leads coming really close off his shoulder. So I've got to be super mindful of that. The other half, Ars is probably like he touches the ball most out of all their OBs. I think he's like 70% of their kicks left foot step. Loves to show the ball. And he's played under BA before as well, so you can sort of see some of those traits in terms of his kicking strategy and things. They've got, Westy played in the back row at the weekend on the right edge. Simbakin's out injured, and he's been a great operator for a long time, and he's still got loads of rugby in him.
He usually raises his game against Leeds as
well. He does. He's massive, massive. He created a couple of opportunities for him. Down at Headingley earlier on in this season. So whether he's on the right edge or he's in the middle, he's probably going to be an equal threat. I like what Alex Miller does, to be honest, on their left. I like the way he carries the ball and he plays with pretty good levels of physicality. I know Mel's has been here before. And they've got some good young players as well, like Senior on the wing. Like he's scored plenty of tries and he's a couple of long-range line breaks and things like that. And they've got a gritty pack, like they work hard for each other. Muzzer, who's an ex-Leeds lad as well. George Lawler, fit, plays big minutes. Tricky Nines with Horn, if they play Rimbu as well, who like to run the ball, run threats. Sinny's got good, going across the squad here, but he's got good footwork. I like to bring him against the grain a little bit. And so, yeah, they're not without the threats, that's for sure. But going to Weldon Road, it's a short pitch, so you've got that, you've got the crowd on top of you, you've got the small changing rooms and all that. We spoke about it a bit today to just get it out for the boys who are not used to it.
Yeah.
And then you can bring the focus onto yourselves then.
Yeah, well, you have to let them know it's better than it used to be.
I know when I used to play, yeah.
If they go in there and they think, what the hell? Well, it used to be a lot worse.
That's true.
At least give it a lick of paint.
Yeah.
So that's one thing there. And important for us with this block of games we've got now, we've obviously got Wakefield the following week as well, which is now going to be live on BBC Two. It's great to be on there to showcase our M&D awareness game on national TV. This block of games against Castleford before the break for Challenge Cup, important to keep the momentum going into that break.
Yeah, just the momentum with our performances. Like there's certain areas that we feel like we've done really well throughout the year, like the baseline expectations of what our blueprint is. We feel like we've been pretty consistent. The other areas, It's probably been forced upon us a little bit, like in terms of our cohesion with our halves and our spine. Like we've not really had a settled spine all season. You know, Fralls has been in and out, and Sinny's been in and out, and Crofty's been in and out, and Jake's been left side, right side, full back, and then obviously Lockie's come in doing a great job. But we've not had. If you look at a Wigan, for example, who've Field might have missed a couple of games here and there, but generally they're very consistent. You look at Hull KR, very consistent. So the teams that are able to do that week in, week out and keep those players healthy, the sooner you can get those combinations, you can get that cohesion, and everything starts to fall into place. So we'd like to hope that we can keep some of those boys healthy now, so we've got a good run of games where we can start to really knuckle down on the wider points of our game model and our game plan, and start to see some of those things come into fruition. And just keep working on improved performances week in, week out. So I feel like, every team will say the same. We're unfortunate to miss out on a few games here and there. But every team would say that. Like Hull would probably say that weekend. That were 2 points they thought they should have probably had. We've had, I reckon there's 3 games this year. We probably felt that way. But you can only look at where you are, and we feel like we're in a decent position. So we'll just look to keep moving on from here.
Brilliant. And we will move on from here. We'll be back on Thursday for the Q&A edition of the podcast. Make sure you send in your questions, info@therhinos.co.uk, and we'll get the answers to you from wherever you need them in the club. It's been great to have Langers back on the podcast today. I hope you've enjoyed that, listening to our review of the Hull FC game and looking ahead to Welland Road on Saturday. Make sure you get down there. It's going to be a cracking atmosphere. It always is down there when Leeds are in town against the Castleford Tigers. Tickets are on sale now from the Leeds Rhinos ticket office. Go to tickets.therhinos.co.uk to get your ticket and get along to support the boys. Make sure that you subscribe wherever you get your podcast to keep up to date with all the latest news coming out of AMT Headingley. And do give us a review, a 5-star review, so we can continue to spread the word about all things Leeds Rhinos around the country on our podcast channels. It's been brilliant to have you with us. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time.